Hi, my name's Leanne Rogers, and I'm going to be walking you through a video today about how to use the Better Teams assessment to really improve your teams, to increase engagement and retention, to understand more about what is going on with the team, to have a tool to use to walk them through and empower them to figure out how to make their team better. And so just a little bit about me so you have some background about why I'm doing this. I'm the co-founder of Better Teams, and I have been working with teams for over 20 years. I'm a trainer, I'm an executive coach, and one of my favorite things to do, again, is work with leaders and help them build better, stronger teams. So you can see on there some of the clients that I've worked with before. And over the years, I've just really developed a passion for it and have created my own model called the Better Teams model, which I'll walk you through a little bit later today. The assessment really aligns closely with that model. But who is this assessment for? And so who should be listening to this video and who would find this relevant? Well, if you are a leader, if you're a team coach or a meeting facilitator, if you're a management consultant or a human resources manager or an L&D manager or an OD consultant, if you work with teams, you'll find this assessment to be really useful. In fact, I think it's one of the greatest tools we can have is to have some assessments to help teams really analyze and figure out what's working and what's not, so we have some concrete evidence and data to use with them. One of the things I personally wanted to do when I created this assessment was to make it really easy to use, practical, helpful, useful, and easy to use. And so there is no training or certification necessary to use this assessment. I know I've spent a lot of money and time in the past to get certified to use assessments, and they were great assessments, don't get me wrong, but they were costly and time consuming. So this one is easy, anyone can do it, and I'll show you how in this video. So if you've got a team you're working with or you're going to be working with and they're really high functioning, they're working really well, perhaps you're going to be helping them with an offsite, an annual retreat or an annual team meeting to kind of think about the next year, this would be a great assessment to use to get them thinking about not just what are we working on, but how are we working together. Or perhaps you've got a team you're working with and they're struggling. They're having a lot of conflict issues. They're not aligned. They're not working very well or producing like they need to produce. You've got a team that needs to figure out what's going wrong and how do they make it better. This assessment would also work really well for that type of team. So it's a very versatile assessment that would work well with honestly any type of team under 20 people. So let's imagine you're tapped, someone's asked you to come work with a team or hired you to, or maybe you have your own team and you're thinking, I need to do some team building. I want to help this team work better together. Where do I start? What do I do? It's kind of like you've got this blank slate in front of you. And if you're a facilitator like me, you've been there. We're like, what can I do? There's so many things I could do with them. Where do I start? What's going to have the biggest impact? And it can almost be overwhelming and to not know where to start. So typically what I do is start with the leader. I start by talking to the leader to figure out what are the team's needs from the leader's perspectives. What do they think the team needs or wants? What do they want to accomplish in this team building session? And dig in there. But the challenge with only interviewing the leader is you get really limited information because you're getting just the perspective of the leader. And anybody's perspective is going to have some blind spots. The other risk and challenge of this is you don't get any buy-in from the team. So nobody else had a part or say so in what the team building is about or what the issues are or what's working. And so there's less empowerment and less buy-in and excitement about your team building process. Another thing I'll do sometimes is interview each team member. This can be really valuable. Spending some time on the phone with each person to kind of hear from them what they think is working, what they'd like the team to focus on, can be really valuable and build great relationships. But it's very time consuming. Usually I spend at least 30 minutes per team member. And if you have a team of 10, that's several hours and hours of work, which can be costly to the clients and costly to you for your time. And so it's one of those things that's nice to do, but not always possible. The other risk of interviewing team members and then compiling a report is there's always a risk of interviewer bias. Even when we go in really objective and open as consultants to work with a team, we all tend to hear things through our own lens and through our own perspective. So we may not be getting the full picture as well as we think we are. So this online assessment, this Better Team assessment, really kind of to me is the best of both worlds. It saves time because I don't have to do an individual call with each person. Everybody completes an assessment online, so it saves them time and it saves me time. Most of the people can complete the assessment in 15 minutes. Some people get very verbose in the comment section and can take up to 30, but it's quick and easy to do, and they can do it at a time that's convenient to them. So it not only saves time, anytime we save time, we're saving money. And it covers all the areas of the team. So whereby interviews might tend to focus in on certain areas that are of interest or relevant to either the consultant and or the leader or the team member, this assessment in particular covers all areas. And I'll show you what those areas are in a minute, but it covers all areas. So you're getting really robust and full information about the team. It's confidential. So sometimes people are hesitant in an interview to share their true feelings, but when an assessment is compiled into one anonymous report, you might get more honest and candid reactions and feedback. And so it also increases buy-in because everybody is having a say-so in it. And as you go through the report later and talk about the team, everybody's got their own ideas already in this assessment and in this report. So there's a lot of buy-in and empowerment that happens. And what you get from that is this report. And it's not a report that says, here's what's right or wrong with the team. It says, here's how the team assessed the team. And it does give scores, but it's all scores that the team has given themselves. So you have this great report that you can use to start conversations and dialogue, to let a team analyze what's working, what should we celebrate, and then what are the areas that aren't working so well? And of those, which ones do we want to work with? So I view this assessment report not as a here's what to do, but here's some information for us as a team to really think about what do we want to do, how are we going to use this, and what do we think are the most important things to do next. So it gets huge buy-in. On the left, you see the Better Teams model. And so the report and all the questions in the assessment are really built around that Better Teams model. I'll walk you through it in a little bit, but you can see there are 5 key areas: trust, alignment, leadership, happiness, and readiness. So what happens is each of your team members gets an online survey link. They go out to that link, they complete the assessment online. There are 30 multiple choice questions. There are 6 questions for each of the 5 areas on that model. And then there are 5 open-ended questions at the end. So again, a lot of people fill it out in about 15 minutes. Some people can take up to 30, but within 30 minutes at the very most, you've got enough information to send to Better Teams. We compile a beautiful report and send it to you. You schedule a workshop and walk them through it. Let me tell you a little bit more about this model though. So again, you see those 5 areas, and what you'll see is each of those 5 areas has 3 key components, and 2 questions on the assessment are related to each of those components. When you get the report, it looks a lot like this, and I'll walk you through that in just a minute so you see how it looks. But you get a 20 to 30 page, depending on your comments, with lots of useful information, with graphs, with data, with comments, with averages, with graphs that show you how many people collected and said strongly agree or disagree in each section. So let's go through this model now. On this particular page, you can see that, for example, let's look at trust. And around the edges of trust, there are 3 key elements: candid, interdependent, and vulnerable. And each of the other triangles also has 3 smaller words around them. I'll walk you through those at a high level now. So the first one in the middle is leadership. And in this assessment, leadership isn't just the title, the person who has the title of leader or manager. Anybody on the team can demonstrate leadership and honestly should step up and show leadership skills and leadership accountability. So what does a leader have? Well, communicative. They communicate really clearly. They work through conflict. They're clear and precise. They listen well. They're proactive. They're always like looking ahead. How can we fix something before it's a problem? How can we be innovative and get ahead of our market or get ahead of where we are right now? And they're accountable. They're accountable to the team. They're accountable to your customers. They're accountable to your organization. Let's look at aligned. I see a lot of times issues on teams when people are not aligned. So it could be that they're not aligned around their goals and the mission. Like, what are we really trying to accomplish as a team here? Or sometimes there's a lot of confusion around roles and responsibilities. I think you're in charge of it. You think you are. Or, we both think the other person is and nobody's doing it. And then the other area where you need alignment is around methods and processes. When there's confusion or people doing things differently, there can be a lot of conflict here too. With readiness, is the team fully ready to do the work, to be successful, to be high performing, and to be happy? Do they have the equipment that they need, the tools that they need, the supplies that they need? Are they adaptive? Are they flexible? Are they willing and ready to be agile in this world where change is constant? And are they competent? Do they have the skills and knowledge and experience that they need to be able to do the job? When we think about happiness, this is such an important one to me because you might be skilled and ready and you might be aligned and have good leadership, but if people on the team aren't happy, they won't stay, or they'll stay but they'll quit and they'll be really unhappy and become kind of difficult to work with and honestly not performing at their peak. Happy people, teams, people want to be happy. They want to get some sense of a connection at work, and so that means different things for different people. But does your team members, do they feel connected to each other? Is there a good relationship there? And are they engaged in the work? Are they excited about what they're doing and feel like they have a stake in it and they have a say-so and they're empowered and they feel like the work that they're doing is fun and interesting to them? And are they fulfilled by that work? This is a really big, important value for millennials. Millennials really want to feel like they're doing something to make the world a better place. And I actually don't think that falls just in millennials. I think that can really fall to any generation. So are our team members feeling like what they're doing makes a difference, is important, and matters in the world? And then the big one that goes around the whole model is trust, right? It's the backbone, if you will, of what makes for a solid team. And trust is built over time. So a team has a lot of trust when they're willing to be candid to each other. They're willing to give each other candid feedback. They're open and honest, and they share their opinions and their thoughts with each other, and they feel safe doing so. There's trust if a team member is willing to be vulnerable with another team member, to say, I don't get this, or I don't understand, or I can't do this, or I'm not able, or I'm so busy right now, I need help. I need help with this. So being willing to be vulnerable. And then finally, trust shows up when you know a team is interdependent. I trust you and I count on you, and we collaborate together. We know that 1 + 1 = 3, and that we're better as a large team all working together than a bunch of us working independently and alone. So trust is just a huge component of teams. When you get a team assessment, remember, there are 6 questions for each of those areas. One of the pages in the assessment looks like this, and you'll see the overall scoring on the left-hand column there for that particular area. So you can see the highest one on here is readiness with a 4.67, and this team scored the lowest in leadership, which is 3.97. Then on the right-hand side on this page, you'll see the highest 2 scoring questions in each area. And so let's take a look at that. So aligned was a really high area for this team, 4.59 on a 6-point scale. So that's pretty high. And on there, the 2 questions, or one of the questions where they scored the highest, is question 9. I can articulate our team's purpose and goals. So this is a team very clear around their team's purpose and goals. Where they scored the highest as an overall area was readiness with 4.67. And here they scored high on question 20. We are bonded and united by a common goal or interest. Question 21, I enjoy being on this team because I love what I do. So the team feels very ready and aligned to do their work. Then on the next page, you see the red, and this is where the team scored the lowest in each of those areas. So in trust, they only scored a 3.42 out of 6 scale. So again, we let the team decide what that means, and they want to compare it to the other areas. But here, one of the questions, question 26, was scored at a 2.17 on a 6-point scale. So most people disagreed with this. Team members give timely and tactful feedback to each other and do not talk behind each other's back. So here they're not being candid, they don't feel safe to do that for some reason, or they don't have the skill set. This is what the team would want to dig in more and find out, why is this happening? Is it cultural? Is it that we're not around each other? Is it that we don't have the skill sets, or it's not reinforced? Why is that happening, and what do we want to do about it? Another example of a low score here was in leadership. And so let's look at the first one, question 4. We hold each other accountable for our actions, addressing concerns in a timely manner. Or question 3, team members take ownership of problems without blaming others and making excuses. So they scored a 3 on a 6-point scale, so there's a lot of disagreement here. The team sees there's potentially an opportunity to work on accountability and ownership around issues rather than blaming or not addressing things and avoiding them. So again, all of these questions are designed to get people talking. Why do we score ourselves here? What do we think about that? What will we do with this? Another piece of the assessment talks about or shows you the questions with the greatest disparity. So disparity means it's a question in which there's a wide, diverse group of answers. Some people scored it really high, some very low. It's kind of, you would want to dig in here and figure out why. Why are some people seeing this high and some people seeing this low? Where is it a confusion about the question? Is it we're seeing it from different perspectives? Is it that we're having different experiences? So an example on this one is question 30, had a great disparity on this assessment. We collaborate to achieve greater results together than any of us could alone. So on any of these questions, I would encourage you to go to the piece in the assessment where you can see a graph. And so you can see question 30 lines up here. And you can see that one person said they strongly disagree, one disagreed more than agreed, two agreed more than disagreed, and one agreed. But it is across the board. And so you'd want to dig in there. You'll also see on this page that at the bottom of the graph, it gives you the average for the whole question. And it also, anytime someone scores lower than a 3, meaning they at least disagree a little bit, we ask them in the assessment to state why. What is your reasons or what are you seeing? And so you'll see 3 comments below question 30 from the 3 people who disagreed on some level. So someone about collaborating, one person wrote, we're just too busy, just trying to get my work finished on time. And another person wrote, no one wants to collaborate with me, it's frustrating. And a third person wrote, we do not work as a team, we work as individual contributors. So again, this is just data, this is information. So as you begin to understand why people scored at high or low, why there's disparity, you can use this to kind of look at the scores, the average, and then the individual comments to have a really robust conversation with your team. On the last page or pages, depending on how many people participate in the length of the comments, there are 5 open-ended questions to this assessment. The first one is, what are your team's greatest strengths? The second one is, what are your team's biggest challenges? The third one is, if you were the team leader, what would you do to make your team better? And we asked them to be specific on all of these. Question 34 is, what additional skills, resources, or training do you and your team need the most? And question 35 is, any additional thoughts or recommendations for your team? So here people can type as much as they want and you get this open-ended information, which sometimes again helps explain other graphs in the chart, but it's also a chance to look for themes or what are we noticing or patterns on the team. So there's lots and lots of information and lots of ways that the team can look at it throughout the debriefing part of the report. So it's really a simple process from beginning to end. You as the facilitator need to prepare the team for the workshop. So you need to tell them they have a link coming, make sure they understand it, ask them to go out and complete the link. You'll get the assessment report first so you can kind of go through it and have an idea of how you want to debrief it with the team. By the way, I send you a full-on facilitator's guide on how I do it. You can use that or make up your own. Then you need to facilitate the workshop. I really recommend you spend at least 3 hours with a team, maybe a half a day or even a full day with a larger team, because the point of this isn't just to give them a report. The point of this is to have a dialogue, to use this report to have really meaningful conversations about, hey, what are we doing really well here? Let's celebrate these things. Let's continue to do these things. And then what are the areas where we're not doing so well? And of those, which are the ones we really want to work on? And what are some action steps that want to come from this? And so you need time to have these conversations, to build trust and to get people talking and working together. It's really exciting to watch teams kind of move through the process and then walk away with some tangible goals that they've decided they want to focus on. Afterwards, you want to follow up with the team and figure out, what are the actions and or strategies that this team came up with? And you want to check in with them on a regular basis. Are we doing them? Are we living up to this? We said we were going to work on this. How is it going? And what adjustments do we need to make? And then finally, an optional thing to do is reassess later. A lot of teams really they now have metrics about their team. They have some kind of numerical numbers about how they scored themselves. And 3, 4, 5, or 6 months later, maybe even a year later, you say, we've been doing all this work to make our team stronger. How are we doing? And so rather than just ask people where you get subjective information, reassess them. And then you have 2 reports you can compare back and forth and see, did the numbers go up? Did we improve? Are we the same? Have we declined in any areas? And again, why? It just gives you data for more conversations, for more workshops, for the team to figure out how do we continue to work together? Because we all know with team building, it's a journey, right? You don't do this once and check the box. It's an ongoing process. Every time a new member comes into a team or leaves a team or the work changes, the dynamics of the team shift, and we have to keep working to make our team strong, high functioning, and happy. So one of the things you'll get is a debrief guide. Again, you can use this completely as it is. You can modify it, or you can use your own approach. But this is how I would use it. This is what I have found to be very helpful when I'm debriefing in this assessment with my teams. So on the left-hand side, you kind of see an overview and some time estimates of the process. And on the right is an example of one of the detailed pages with questions, and it shows how they link up to the pages in the assessment. So it kind of really walks you through step by step what you can do here to facilitate it. To give you an idea of the debrief process, on the left, there's some sort of a kickoff, usually with the leader kind of setting the intentions. I always start with the high scoring questions and celebrations and really acknowledging and letting the team acknowledge what's working really well. We've got to take time to celebrate. In number 3, going to the lowest scores, taking a look at where are we not doing so well. And of these, which are the ones we really want to focus on the most. Number 4 is going through those disparate questions. So sometimes there's a lot, sometimes there's not any, but usually there's at least a few, and going through and just understanding why are we seeing this differently? What's the reason behind the disparity? Then going through the open-ended questions to see if there's any additional information that can be gleaned or that would be useful to use. Collecting their overall reactions, and then in 7, getting the teams to figure out how do we come up with 2 to 3 actions. And I walk you through this, how I would do it with a small team, or if you have a larger team, you can split people up into groups and ask each group to kind of pick an area to focus on. But in the end, they will again walk out with some sort of an action plan or strategy, so they have something to do, something to work on to make this team better that they've created together, which is empowering and exciting, and then they're much more likely to buy into it and actually make this happen because they have created it and they see the value in it. In 8, I love to ask people, after we've done this and we have some team goals and strategies, what is your personal commitment to the team? Given what you've learned today about the team and thought about yourself, what will you commit to do for the team? And then 9 is all about just clarifying what are the next steps. When are we going to meet? How are we going to hold ourselves accountable to this? How are we going to follow up? So again, this guide is for you. It's about an 8 or 9 page PDF that you get to use and modify as you'd like. So how will you benefit as the meeting facilitator or the team leader? Well, it's a versatile tool to add to your portfolio of offerings. I know personally, I like to have a variety of tools so that when I'm working with a new team, I can think about what would be the most useful thing I can use. How does this team want support or need support from me? And what I love about this particular assessment is it's so broad, it's so helpful to any team, again, whether they're high functioning or they're struggling. It saves you time. It saves you time, and then it saves the client time. And rather than doing lots of analysis and interviews and having to spend the time to kind of pull it all together and look for summaries, this assessment report, Better Teams, we do all that for you and provide a beautiful report for you to use. It will build credibility with teams you serve. I find when I work with clients, having a solid, proven assessment to use gives you credibility, and the team is much more likely to buy into it again because they're the ones who answered those questions. And it's a unique team report that offers insight to them. So every report looks a little different. It's always interesting to me to kind of scan through them. And I never share, they're always anonymous, but just to look for patterns of how people answer and to be able to see where they're strong. And again, what are their biggest opportunities? And then it gives you measurable data. It provides the leader or an HR leader with measurable data as well on how a team is doing, that you can always choose again to go back later and compare and contrast that to see what improvements are being made. So how does the team benefit? Well, everybody has a chance to input. Everybody's feedback is received, so it's empowering for them. And it doesn't take them a lot of time. Unlike an interview, which can take 30 minutes or longer, this usually just takes 15, maybe 20 minutes, and they can do it anytime that's convenient for them. There's a diverse amount of questions, so rather than the team just focusing in on 1 or 2 hot issues for them, it really asks them broad questions so they get really good and rich and broad information about how the team is doing. And it's compiled and analyzed for them so that they are the ones who analyze and decide what to do. This report doesn't say, here's what you need to do, here's what's wrong, or here's where you're broken. This report says, hey, this is what you think about your team, and then what do you want to do with this information? So that's very, very well received usually by teams. And number 5, you've got measurable data. I find teams really like that too, especially analytical teams, but they really like having some measurement there around where they are. It kind of gives them some goals to work towards, and they like to see it as their own team scores go higher and higher and know that they played a big part of that. So what do you get when you buy this assessment? Well, you get a link for one team of up to 20 people. So again, one team of up to 20 people can take this. If you have a team larger than 20, reach out to me. Testing it right now with a group of 35, and it's working really well, but we did have to make some modifications. So the pricing might be a little different, and the questions might need to be modified. So reach out to me if you've got more than 20 people. You also get, though, a PDF team report. So I'll send it to you wherever you are in the world. We've got people all around the world that are using this. You'll get a team report by PDF that you can decide to print or to share with the team virtually as well. And you'll get a PDF detailed leaders guide. Again, an 8 or 9 page document that walks you through what I say, what I ask them, about how much time I spend, that you can use as a guide. So it's only $299. I really did a lot of research and thought in this. There aren't a lot of assessments out there that are good. And what I find is most of the ones that are good really require, again, a lot of, they require you to go to a 2 or 3 day training class, which means you have to fly in and spend travel costs as well as pay for a class, and or the assessments are a lot more expensive than this. This is the best deal, I think, out there. In fact, if you can find a better deal, let me know. This is, to me, hands down the best deal out there for people and leaders and consultants who want to do an assessment with a team. You get a lot for your money, and it's easy to use, so you don't have to spend days or even weeks kind of preparing and learning and practicing. It's easy, and you're able to just pick it up and use it. And I guarantee it. I don't want to put anything out there into the world that people don't absolutely love. I don't want to take your money and run. So if you aren't 100% satisfied, if you don't feel like this assessment gives you and your team really good, solid information, and it's not packaged in a way that's easy to use, you let me know and I will give you your money back. But I've had nothing but satisfaction and really glowing reports about this assessment. It just works. And so I hope you'll get to try it with your teams as well. So if you want to order it, you can go to better-teams.com/better-teams-assessment, or just go to better-teams. It's really easy to find on the website, and you can order it today. You can also pull up a sample report on that, and there's a little bit more information on the website if you want to read more. And you've also got my email and phone number right there. So what I find is a lot of times people have a question they want to ask before they buy it. If this video didn't answer it and the website doesn't, just reach out. I'm here to support you. I love working with people who are helping teams. It's fun for me. It's just my passion. So I'm here to support you through the process. But I hope you'll get to try this with a team soon and see the value that it brings, and also just kind of the fun and structure it will give you as a consultant to use this with a team, and know that you're going to get them to some specific strategies and actions that they're excited about, so they leave your team building session wired up and excited about what they're going to go do. So reach out if you've got any questions. You can reach me at Leanne at better-teams.com, and have a great day.